As mentioned, I'm Momita Bakshi Chatterjee. I'm Senior Assistant Editor with the Press Trust of India. And I'm delighted to be moderating this session on navigating online-offline retail convergence strategies for success. Many thanks to the panelists for joining me today. Just to set some context here, according to Deloitte India report, the online retail market size could reach $325 billion by 2030, fueled by momentum in smaller cities and towns. Today, increasingly comfortable with technology and gadgets, an aspirational consumer base of an estimated 200 million shoppers or thereabouts are driving e-commerce growth story of India. According to another estimate, the India retail market itself could cross $2 trillion by 2032. The brick and mortar retailers are strengthening their online presence, even as online companies are eyeing an offline play. Omnichannel retail is no longer merely a nice to have, it is a must have. So let's start there, the big picture. My first question to the panelists is, do you all agree with the size of the opportunity that we're talking here, the numbers that we've seen in the various reports? And would it be fair to say that the conventional thinking of retail model is not going to work anymore? We really have to look at newer ways of convergence of online and offline. Who'd like to go first? Lavanya?
Good evening, everyone. Thanks, Date, for this opportunity. It's obviously, we have been speaking throughout the day about digital being first, but unlike retail in India was obviously very traditional all this while. There have been, over the past decade, we have seen a lot of online players kind of emerge. But today when we kind of see, it's you see a brand like Zivame, which obviously started in a more e-commerce format, today going into traditional formats, and again brands which were more traditional today being present in Omni. You see it every day. The main reason being is you have to be there where the consumer wants you to be there. Today, the consumer has the power of choice to shop. The traditional people had the preference to go to the store and shop, but today she wants to have the convenience at a click of a button, sitting at home on the mobile, ensure that the product kind of reaches there. So one thing which is very important is while it's not about being offline, online, while that convergence is already there, the challenge for the companies is to give a unified or the similar shopping experience, whether she's shopping offline or she's shopping online. If you're able to crack that, and that's what the companies are really striving to do. So omni retail, feed digital, whatever name you call, is actually here to stay.
Himanshu, your perspective on this?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So just as a quick background, I actually did retail for almost 1.5 decades, slightly more than that. Started with, various categories: fashion, books and music, mobile phones, electronics. So many years. And I have lived through that phase where many of those categories became very interesting online and started eating into the organized retail share in some form or the other. And then, of course, finally, currently, I am in the role of at Snapdeal. So I've seen it from both ends. I think just as a quick this thing, I think physical retail is something which is very interesting for consumers because it serves multiple purposes, right? From entertainment, touch and feel. You are able to get your garment or the length altered. You can see how it looks. You can get an appreciation from somebody else in the store and decide that you want to buy it. If you have an issue with wanting to change the size, you can hop across to that store immediately, next day, same day. There are lots and lots of advantages: touch, feel, all that is there. On the other hand, what you get in retail is the shop which has been done up for you. Nobody can personalize it for you. So on digital, we have the beauty. Each one can have their own shop. We can personalize the shopping experience for you. We can show you endless aisle, humongous number of choices. We can't do that in physical retail. So there are lots of advantages that the digital medium has. There are lots of advantages that the physical retail medium have. has, and consumer is actually quite aware of this. We don't need to tell the consumer is aware of this. Now the question for any of the players who are into Omni is, how do you not really work on these experiences which you need to do, but from the consumer angle, how do you create that experience which is unique to these touch points but still seamlessly together? Yeah. And therefore, because the consumer is doing the choices online, then is finally selecting the merchandise at the retail store, probably checking the prices and then going back online and buying. There are multiple journeys that the consumer is going through, and how do you marry this together without losing the essence of each of these modes? Retail has its own mode and digital has its own mode, and how do you manage the two and still add to the consumer experience while creating these two?
Yeah, thanks, Himanshu, and hi everyone. Uh, I have an anecdote to tell everyone, right? Uh, I started my journey with ShopStop. I spent close to about 14 days short of 21 years at ShopStop, right? So I joined when ShopStop was a startup. I moved out when it was a company which was in excess of 5,500 crores. Yeah. So during my journey of 21 years, I have seen some transitions. And before I come to online and omni-channel, I'll tell you what I have seen. I've seen the first store, okay, which was a department store which people have never envisaged that कि इतने बड़े दुकान में भी shirt मिल सकती है, right? And I'm sure Himanshu, who also comes from that side. I started from there, and after some time, we went into business of beauty in a big way, right? So we also got Estee Lauder into the country, okay? Uh, I also managed them for almost 14, 15 years. In 2011, there was another change, which was bringing travel retail in this country. आप किसी भी एयरपोर्ट पर जाते होंगे, आपने हमेशा पहले कार्ल्सबर्ग का स्टोर देखा होगा, राइट? देयर वाज दिस कार्ल्सबर्ग स्टोर एवरीवेयर, and you know uh, my company did a joint venture with Nuance, which was the biggest duty free operator in the world, and I was leading that for duty free and duty paid. So what I learned was another aspect of why consumers buy at airport, right? And the first airport that I launched with 100% fashion retail was the Bangalore airport, and then went to Hyderabad, and then went to Delhi. So there are a lot of transitions, okay, which we go through as workers, and there are a lot of transitions we take customer with us, okay. And what I want to come to is in 2002, ShopperStop launched ShopperStop.com. I'm not sure how many of us are aware here. Okay, and 2002, which was like 20 years before, there was a ShopperStop.com portal which was launched, which never worked. It was too early. But having that, anticipation, having that understanding that what is going to happen in future, I have learned from the great, people in this industry. And after I completed, my stint at Shoppers, okay, and I joined Nykaa, I was there for some time, okay, I did start the fashion business over there. I understood one thing, that you need to have the DNA. You are in offline or you are in online. An online DNA is very different from offline DNA. And omni-channel is an extension of DNA of offline and online. There are humongous amount of points, okay, which we have to consider if we really have to be successful. Customer changes every morning. How are you changing before the customer changes decides whether you are going to win the game or lose the game. Where you want to play, you can always decide, like Himanshu said, that we need to know the customer. But my learning over the years is that you have to anticipate where the customer is moving. We'll come to the omni-channel part. But between offline and online, okay, this huge change which is going in, I think we will discuss a little further, but this is what I believe, that we as companies have to be ready with what customer wants. And we cannot make customer move to the areas where we want. I think we lose them very clearly.
No, I think, from my perspective, I probably represent the logistics part of the industry. And, when whatever Lavanya, Himanshu, and Gopal and their teams come out with creative aspects around, surprising customers, and we as a logistics partner have to ultimately make that happen, for example. And, what I've seen over the years is, when for all these companies and more, the one thing that has changed is the distribution network. What happened in the past was that if you have a network, so what does logistics really mean? Whether ultimately you are our customers, whether you buy from a retailer or you do a B2C sale, whichever is your buying behavior of all the customers sitting here, it's the responsibility of the logistics partner or companies to make it happen. And the challenge that has now happened is that with the change of the way people are ordering, the companies have to really look at their network in a very, very different way. And if in the past you thought about a network, and when I talk about a network, it's about a web of warehousing, a web of supply chain, the most optimum way of ensuring that a product reaches you. And that involves manufacturing. That involves manufacturing. From manufacturing, the material moves to a warehouse. From a warehouse, it moves to a distributor. From a distributor, it moves to a customer. And I think with the B2B, B2C convergence and omni-channel, what has taught us is that we have to be always on our toes, and the winners of the future will be the ones who have the most nimble distribution channel and who are actually leveraging and changing it every day. And I think that's the whole fun part about. I'll not get into Omni for now. I think there's a future discussion on Omni that we'll do. But I think the challenge is about the winners of the future will be the ones who have an amazing ability to look at their supply chain, tweak their networks day in and day out, look at the customer, and the holy grail will be the business which have scale and the lowest cost propositions are going to survive under any circumstances, which is true for B2B and true for B2C. Yeah, but very exciting times, and I think Lavanya, Himanshu, and Gopal's team keep on challenging logistics providers like us so that we can be on our toes and keep on serving the customers who are all sitting on the other side. Thank you.
Wonderful perspectives. I wanted to ask you all about your outlook for 2024. We are winding down a year and starting on a new year. What kind of consumer sentiments do you see in the market? We're just out of festive season, big festive season. What kind of uptick did you see in the market? And what really is the forecast for 2024? And if you could also sort of talk about your individual plans there, as all of you represent such a big chunk of the online pie, what are your plans for 2024? How are you looking to capitalize the growth?
In terms of consumer behavior, at least what I would say, at least for our business, there was a time when it was very heavy fashion. So there was like a lot of fashion. Then came a time when COVID hit. People kind of started working from home. They were not kind of venturing out. So there, at that point of time, we did see comfort became like a major contributor to our revenue. So when I say categories like leisure wear or lounge wear or something like home bras, we saw that there was a huge uptick in those kind of categories. When we saw, again, now you are seeing more and more people coming out. They're traveling, they're coming back to work. Work from home is slowly being phased out in a lot of organizations. So again, you see that people are looking out for solutions to kind of cater to that change, whatever is happening. So I do see newer categories like shapewear. I think so one big thing what we are seeing is women are looking out for shaping solutions, which was probably not there a couple of years back. So newer category like shapewear, like personal care, we do a lot of things around intimate wear range. So we do see demand for those things kind of increasing. So I do see a shift again. with the bridal, we do, what I expect is that with the wedding seasons kind of picking in from now until the end of the year, I do see that there will be a demand more for the bridal things. Again, another huge change what I'm seeing is in terms of the true curve range. True curve range is what we do for plus size. So I do see a huge demand which is kind of seeing there. So there are pockets which are emerging, and I see the demand kind of changing. In terms of channel, for us at least, I see that while we started as a digital first or online first, I see the acceleration in offline to be faster for us, and we would definitely become like a true omni retail company in 2025. So those are the shifts what I see from our business perspective.
So for us, actually, for Snapdeal, just a quick background to some of the numbers. As you know, there are approximately 700, 800 million people in India who have got, access to internet, largely thanks to the revolution that happened when Jio came into the market. Before that, it was people like us who used to have SIM cards and access to mobile phones. But post the Jio revolution, everybody got into the thing, and of course, data became cheap and voice became virtually zero cost. And we are seeing this huge surge which has happened, and COVID of course helped people to move from just purely being online or being connected to the internet to actually start shopping. Now out of this 800 odd million, 250 to 300 odd million are shopping currently, but there's a runway over the next 4 to 5 years of another 300 million to come in. 250 to 300 million people will start from this cohort of 800 million, will start transacting online, start e-commerce online. And large number of them will be from the value segment. Geographically, most of them will be from tier 2 and beyond. Geographically, economically, they will be from the value segment. Yeah. And therefore, our journey is all about creating something which is of great appeal to this audience, which is wanting to buy. So we want to be the lifestyle destination for this audience, the value audience. Now, this value audience is quite different. All the solutions that we keep hearing in the e-commerce space are meant for the more urbane audience, the more well-to-do audience, the one who buys a dress for a party at 5,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees. You have all the X's with designers, A with B. Now that's great, but we are looking at a segment which is buying probably a shirt or a dress or a sari at the price of one Starbucks coffee. That's the audience. And it is important for them. They think multiple times before making that purchase, because that money is important to them. Spending that 450 rupees, 400 rupees, 500 rupees is important to them. How do we make this experience for the Bharat consumer in their own language, in their own lingo, in their own method of seeing it, who are not digitally advanced? Yeah. How do we make the proposition good? How do we take care of the quality? How do we take care of the logistics experience? How do we move them from cash on delivery to digital payments? How do we work with the ecosystem partners to solve for this audience? Every year for the next 4 or 5 years, starting with what you're saying, January, is a part of that journey and a significant part of that journey for us.
Yeah, so I'll just pick up from where Himanshu left. Okay. So just bringing in Tata, okay, for a moment. Today, Tata Click has 3 apps, right? One is the lifestyle app, right, which is actually your everything. Then you have Tata Click Luxury, right? Luxury. I just want to say that whereas Tata Click app, the average selling price is somewhere around 1600. In Tata Click Luxury, the average selling price is about 9,000 rupees, right? And while I don't want to give numbers, but you will be surprised to understand how much luxury sells, right? So there is Tata Click Lifestyle, there is Tata Click Luxury, and very recently we have ventured into the space of beauty, and we have launched another app called Tata Click Palette, right? About 4 months back. Now, what happens is each one of them operate independently, right? There are different customers. We don't try to trade off the customers, okay, between these apps. Because what we want to do is that we want to create a customer data bank, okay, for each of their own verticals. And then at a later point of time, okay, we might want to go and, kind of cross-pollinate each one of them and work. Now, just one thing, which probably for any retailer or for anyone that might be a little helpful, how it works is India is very calendarized. So the whole business in retail, whether it is online or offline or omni-channel, generally starts from the month of August. So July is the sale which gets over. In the month of August, the Raksha Bandhan and the Janmashtami and the Ganpati Puja, okay, starts the season very clearly. So you can't miss it. That means everything that you want to do has to be ready before that. It also starts opening up, okay, your customer acquisition, because that is the time that customer wants to buy. And therefore you start your acquisition in a big way. Then when you reach the month of September, October, that means you have Durga Puja coming in. You know that your northeast and east belt is going to work. So you start channelizing your entire energy towards Calcutta, Guwahati, and all such places, and try to get into all, Bengali and all those customers who celebrate Durga Puja. Mind you, that Hyderabad has the biggest festival as Dashera. So when Durga Puja buying gets over, Dashera starts picking up in Mysore, Vijayawada, and Hyderabad belt, and a little bit of Punjab. And when you come out from there, you get into the entire country, which is more of north and west, and central, where Diwali comes in. So broadly, when you get into your customer acquisition, when you know that when it is not a desire but a need, every Bengali buys at least 5 attires, okay, during Durga Puja. Is that correct? Right. So how can I be part of their wardrobe? First day, Panchami, Shati,
Shashti, Saptami,
Saptami,
Ashtami, Navami.
Ashtami. That's how I dedicate, okay, and I tell my team, I want to see what you're doing for Panchami. I want to see what you're doing for Saptami. I want to do what you're doing for Ashtami. And remember, the online sale gets over 7 days before the event, whereas the offline sales goes till last day of the event. So there is a huge difference on how you plan, okay, not only your business, but your online acquisition during the second half is very critical. Then from that you go to November. So after Devthan Ekadashi, which is today, okay, you know that after Tulsi Vyah, 10 days later the wedding starts. So your wedding store has to go up. And after your wedding store goes up, okay, comes Christmas and New Year sale. And then you go into the 14th January Sankranti, where South comes in, and then you move into Valentine's, and then you go into a very dark age, which is the month of March, when nothing happens, and then April again Gudi Padwa starts the business for you. So as a retailer, as an online retailer, we have to really understand that customer will buy at their convenience from us, because they know that I will take 5 days to get my delivery, and I may have to return my product and I want to get a new one, or I want to exchange the size. So we as online retailers are very critical about this. So if Diwali is on 12th of November and you plan anything on 8th of November, sorry, you have just destroyed yourself. It's a waste, right? So the whole online, offline, working, acquisition, festivals, all revolve on this kind of planning in the current era.
I think very interesting. Gopal, I'll probably start from where you left. When Gopal talks about the calendarization in India, the problem from them shifts to us, right? So when you look at calendarization in India, I can tell you that when we have a Diwali sale or with the festivalization happening, from a warehousing perspective, if the average, say, just from a layman's perspective, if we were shipping 100 Zivami SKUs in a day, the expectation will be to do 10,000, 100x. And that's a normal expectation. And what the challenge to the logistics industry is, how do you scale up and scale down? And I think that is why for us as a global logistics company, we're the world's largest logistics company globally, and a big name. But what we are going to do differently to serve all of you in 24 and 25 and beyond is the digital enablement of supply chain. And what I really mean by that is that globally we have already seen, if you come to us and look at the warehouses that we have built, most of the warehouses are 13, 14 meters high. They are unidirectional traffic flow. The minimum size of the warehouse is about 2 lakh square feet. And just to give you a context, an average warehouse size in India is about 20,000 square feet. And when you look at something we are building is 10x of that. Because we are building 10x of that, we are futuristically challenged by the calendarization that Gopal said, and therefore we are looking solutions to that. What does that really mean? When you have a higher peak, you need more inventory. When you have a higher peak, you need more people. Then how do you solve those problems? And the way we are solving those problems is 20% of our picking globally is happening with something called assisted picking robots. Now, assisted picking robots, so somebody would say India minimum wage is pretty low, and therefore why do you want to do that? But I think we cannot solve customer problems by not bringing in technology. And I think the next, the big thing that you will see from global player like us is to bring in fantastic technologies in India, which is, and one of the big things would be around something called assisted picking robots, where a robot assists. You can imagine that if a warehouse is 500,000 square feet, a picker or a person, blue collar workman would get tired. You cannot walk such distances. And therefore we want the person who is working. If a person is happy, he's productive, he goes home on time, there is less attrition, he wants to come back and work. If he comes back to work next day, we are able to do the calendarization that Gopal was talking about. I think it's a very vicious cycle. So I think digitization is one, automation is one, and the third big thing for us is our promise on sustainability. We will, the Prime Minister of India has a promise on sustainability, right? From a logistics perspective, logistics is all polluting, right? Whether you talk about airplanes, whether you talk about trucks, whether you talk about warehouses, and therefore what we are doing is madly putting solar panels on the roof of every warehouse in India and globally. And we say, hey, you know what? In 5 years' time, every warehouse should run on solar panels, for example. And then we're talking about sustainability from all aspects in terms of last mile delivery. In the city of Delhi today, we know, right? You can only do a few things if you are non-diesel, for example. And therefore, what can we do around sustainability would be. So these are the few things that I think the logistics players will continue to do to support the challenge that the industry keeps on throwing on us.
Thank you, Vikas. I wanted to ask you all about the big challenges that you see in when it comes to omni-channel integration. But since we are on the topic of technology, I wanted to bring up a question here. Which technology is the one that you are most excited about at this point of time? There is this whole buzz around artificial intelligence, AR, VR, I think, which retail itself is big on. There is big data, analytics. As companies, which are those big technologies that excite you at this point of time?
While I'm not an expert on technology, what I would say is any technology which makes data simpler for business and makes it in a format which enables decision making is the technology what I would want to look for. Whether it is AI, whether it is ML, that's something for the tech to do. But what is unique for your business, and today everybody gets data from all over, like whether it's the consumer data, what is kind of selling, trends, inventory, what is getting aged. The data is there at so many places, right? I feel the technology which kind of makes it simpler for business to enable decision making is the key. You don't need to do very advanced techniques. It depends on what size of business you are, but whatever can simplify you is going to be the key.
So quite a few things. I'll just take 2 minutes to explain just the drift of what it is. The first one, which is very interesting for us, is that for the next 300 million customers who will start shopping online, and hopefully a lot of them will shop on our platform first, where they're not aware of the digital medium in terms of shopping, and they do not know how does it work, from how do you select, how do you put it in the cart, how do you take it to checkout page, how do you make the payment if you're making a payment, how do you select COD versus the other modes, etc., etc. Now, in this entire thing, one of the key aspects for us is to tailor this experience for you. What the products that you get to see, the feed that you get to see, is something that, and they're not very familiar with either search or the filters. Therefore, it is essentially the navigation tabs and it is the feed. Now, it looks very simple, but that feed becomes the most important thing. And therefore, for us, training our models at an individual level on ML, using ML, is one of the most important things that can make a difference between conversion X and conversion at 0.75X and 0.6X. It can make a huge difference. So one area which is of great interest and continues to be is ML.
Machine learning.
Yeah. The second aspect, which is very important, and I'll take up from the DHL experience that they're talking about, is we have this issue whereby we are, of course, sending our packets to across the country, mostly in tier 2 and beyond. Large number of these customers are COD customers because of the nature of the transaction, as I told you. Now, what happens in this case is that when the festival time comes in, the spike that is caused in the business across, not only by us, but the ecosystem, lot of solutions are happening on the first mile and the mid mile, but the last mile is choked because the capacity will get created in the metros and the mini metros. Capacity does not get created by the service providers in the smaller towns. Yeah, and there the numbers jump up 3x, 4x, 5x, 6x. Now, when the choking happens in the last mile, the mid mile is where they stop all the consignments. The first mile does not suffer that much because they found the solution. So it all gets jumped in. Now, how do we ensure that we are able to use our data predictability to give the customer a real-time estimate of when they will get the packet? Because there's a festive for which they need it, right? You can't say you will get it sometime or the other. And how do we, at the promise stage itself, build in the algorithms the date by which you will get it with good amount of certainty, 95, 99, 98% accuracy. The last one which I will illustrate, and there are many more, but last one I'll illustrate is, for this audience, how do we create social media and other campaigns, including on our platform, of course, where I can generate content in tens of thousands of content for them, video, picture, notifications, but tens of thousands of versions, which is suited to each individual. And there, everything that you're talking about of generative AI comes into the picture. We have started experimenting actually with that last couple of months, and it's working out quite well.
Yeah, so again, practically, right? When you are in any app, 2-3 scroll में दुनिया खत्म हो जाती है, right? So we say that 3 scroll में 1, 2, 3. If you are not able to get to your customer requirement, you are gone. Now, all you people sitting here, okay, will have different requirements. Somebody wants to get into beauty, somebody wants to get into shirts, somebody wants t-shirts, somebody shoes. How do I ensure that whatever the areas you are addicted to, I show you first? Okay, and there comes personalization. So that is the first most requirement, okay, which we work forward to, personalizing each and every customer's requirement. I think Amazon is a pioneer in this, right? And you rarely see something like what Amazon does, but that is a big priority. Okay, we want to really become big with personalization, and with personalization, we want to get into recommendations, right? What is that you should see? You have been continuously coming and looking at a running shoe, right? So I show you running shoe, I show you a sweatshirt, and I show you a sweatshirt. I show you a hairband, right? What do I recommend to you? And then there is something which is attached to, which is pair it with, right? So this is the Oakley glass, okay, that pairs, okay, when you are running. And there are so many things, but for example, chatbots. So customer service is something, okay, which I'm sure all of us know that you can't get ahead of it. The customer is always ahead of you. So I think using ML, understanding, virtual, computer science, how can you know more about the customer? And we call something as loading. अगर एक दिन में 1000 ऑर्डर आए तो कितने कस्टमर्स ने आपको टच किया either via WhatsApp or email or through phone call. That's a loading. The lower the loading for me, I know higher is the customer satisfaction. And when the customer comes and touch base with me, I cannot have 1000 or 2000 people sitting to answer them, right? Because that's a cost for me. So what I need to do is I need to have chatbots. I need to have intelligent chatbots. How many chats can be finished? What are the major questions customers will ask? And how can I ensure that the chatbots are able to resolve the customer issues? And then there are a lot of, brand forecasting, fashion forecasting, and all that, which comes through a lot of big data and all that comes in. But in my view, these are the 3-4 which I believe not only for us but for the entire industry is extremely important.
Yeah, you know what? I think we are in Delhi, and I'll take an example of that. It's related to big data and machine learning. Decongestion of cities. It's my personal goal and vision that we will play a very, very large role in decongestion of cities, and logistics plays a very, very important role in that. What we will be doing is, if you take a hospital example, if you go to a hospital, you will find that there are very, very small vehicles which will be coming, and there are 20 drug companies who are sending 20 smaller trucks to the hospital. And there are beautiful hospital solutions globally, and we're piloting in large truck, which is very efficient and goes back, which means that during the day, we have taken 20 small vehicles out of the city. And I personally believe that I'm very passionate about ensuring that, and this is a very simple example I gave you. We got very, very smart tools, which is something called milk runs and network optimization. Now, milk run is a very, very simple way of, when we do a milk run, you say, I put a thali in my home and then her home, and then we are moving. And that's a very, very efficient way of doing transportation. And therefore, I believe that if we have to do something nice and that has got a value and which can help all of us as citizens, I think decongestion of cities and logistics companies working madly on that, linking that to technology, linking that to sustainability, linking that to green fuels, linking that to batteries, and making our cities cleaner. And I think it also helps a lot because all of us can go back home faster. I think that's something magical, and I believe within the next 5 to 10 years, we're taking some big, large examples in large cities, and if we're able to make that impact in some micro markets, I think that will be a big, big contribution to the country from the logistics industry. So, yeah.
I know we're running out of time, but I just wanted to get 1 or 2 quick views on these. One, how should businesses approach social commerce, since we touched upon it in the previous question, and how big is the social commerce piece really? And the other thing I wanted to ask, if all of you could come out with, what is on top of mind, what is the big challenge that retailers will face, when it comes to ensuring a seamless omni-channel presence, and online companies too, as they move more and more into offline presence? What are the big challenges that they are going to be up against? That is the second question. And the first question is on social commerce piece. How big is that going to be?
I think so. Social commerce is here to stay. The adaptability of, say, whether it's WhatsApp or buying on Instagram, really is something which the consumers today are looking for. You actually see most of the shopping today happens while you're scrolling, right? You are kind of scrolling on Instagram, you're chatting on WhatsApp. So social commerce is something here to stay. And the companies are looking at this as a normal business avenue. That is something which is here to stay. The second question on what are the challenges which the companies will face. One thing which the companies have to really look at is how do you ensure you give the same kind of experience to the consumer, whether they're shopping online or whether shopping offline, right? Like if I have to talk about my industry, fit is something which is a very big issue when it comes to lingerie shopping, right? So while fit is something which we can solve in offline, where you can measure it and give her the correct size, how do you ensure that a person shopping online still has the same experience, right? So we developed something called fit code, where she can answer few questions to kind of arrive at what the size needs to be. So it becomes very important, because if she's not getting the correct fit, she's not going to, the repeat purchase will not happen, or the return percentage will increase. One of the two will happen. And these two have a very large impact on your business, right? Also, inventory. In online, you can have endless aisle, like you can keep on scrolling, need not stop at three scrolls, but you can keep on shopping, show her more options, show her more colors when, what she wants to buy. But in a retail, you obviously have a limited retail space, and you have to optimize your inventory at that point of time. But at the same time, you want to give the same shopping experience to both of them. How will you enable a consumer who came to retail but probably didn't find that product in your store, still is able, you're able to convert her into an online and say, I will deliver it at home, is also going to be important. So again, unified shopping experience is something which is kind of here to stay. And how you use your digital assets, whether it's your app or the understanding of your consumer in that locality. Say it's a place where, say, a sleepwear sells more. So how do you kind of enable your offline store presence to have that becomes really important. The how you leverage a data from one channel to another channel to enable business will actually kind of help businesses to be more successful. So how are you looking at data, slicing, dicing, understanding it to service your consumer is kind of going to be the challenge for the companies to kind of solve going forward.
I think largely in line with what's being said here. Essentially, for us also it is quite the same. We do not have the requirement of combining the omni experience, etc. We are a digital player, but for us the entire solve is in terms of how do we give them online an experience to the first time shoppers. How do we give them, or near first time shoppers, the experience which is as close as possible to what they are experiencing in the physical medium, and of course personalize it for them, because that's the strength of the online medium. So we are using some of the skills of this the retail world, which is curation. What do we show to you? Curation, which means I don't, if you, we know that if you are from that segment, you're looking for a t-shirt priced 299, 399, 499. If we ensure that the curation is humongous number of options, but between 299 and 599, instead of giving you, t-shirts at 999, 1999, 4999, then that curation would help. Although it's not omni, but the aspects of retail, which is within that price range, but obviously with the advantage of the digital medium. So we are working on a lot of these things to solve the problems of the consumers. Although of course we are purely digital, so we don't have that omni.
As an industry, what do you think about the social commerce piece? How big is it going to be?
Yeah, as I said, I think I completely agree with her. Social commerce, not the way it started off as we had thought. So that social commerce, and I'll not get into what that was thought to be. But I think social commerce as a transaction tool, as an acquisition channel, largely by, of course, we know the two big giants in the space. Yeah, led by them, all paid channels as such. Most of it, and as she's rightly pointing out, is bottom funnel marketing which is taking place. So a large amount of more and more money will go into bottom funnel marketing. So good news for those companies, but I think, yeah, it's here to stay.
Yes. So I think we cannot run away from social commerce, right? It's becoming bigger and bigger. You see every day the number of followers on Instagram and other social medias are increasing day by day. One of the biggest thing that I have learned personally, and having two teenagers at my house, okay, is sometimes they make me feel that the generation gap is not 1 or 2, but it is 1:10, right? The speed at which my 14-year-old daughter works on Instagram, and how she never uses a WhatsApp chat but Instagram chat, and the kind of filters she uses, okay, has taught me a lot of things as an individual, which I can use and I'm using in my corporate understanding in social, right? So it's two-way. Social is a two-way communication, right? Personalization and convenience is very important. And what basically at Tata Click we are trying to do is we are trying to have a lot of working with these nano influencers, right? The micro influencers, they know their their followers very well. Okay, they have limited followers, and these followers follow them very religiously. These are the people who take our curations, okay, and talk to them. These are the ones, okay, who are able to tell about styling to these particular customers, okay. And you have to continuously innovate in terms of how do you talk to my daughter, okay. Mind you, in a group of 9 of her friends, I wanted to see that how many of them have got the app on their mobile of my firm, and none of them had, because they said, no, we keep only app of Zara and H&M. So I said, if you want to buy something from Click, what do you do? So they said, nahi, mobile wo web hai na, website pe hum buy kar lete hain, but app nahi rakhna. So in social media, you cannot today avoid the Gen Z if you want to be a long-term player. So social commerce become very important because of this, because you are not living for today. Today is happening because of what you planned yesterday. What is going to happen tomorrow is this: people would like to try shortcuts. They will know a lot of things more than, okay, the social media person knows at Tata Click. And therefore, I think what I keep telling my team and what I want to further continuously learn is from these Gen Zs and millennials, how fast they scroll, they know exactly where to stop, and what is the kind of time frame they give to you. I like that top. Oh, I click, I am not getting the price, it's over. And then what is relevant? Being relevant to the customer is the biggest thing for any retailer. If I am not relevant to the customer, I am dead. So on social commerce, okay, through Insta, through LinkedIn, through Pinterest, wherever you go, however you make your customers, whatever strategies you take, you have to know your customer. You have to know her very well. You have to run with her, and you have to ensure that on whichever platform she is, whichever retail front she is taking, okay, you are the best over there. And I cannot stress more on this, because there are a lot of companies. My ex-company Nika, right, has built millions of loyal customers on social media who swear by it. And that's what Tata is doing, Tata Click, okay, on this journey in luxury. I think we have created that kind of thing, and we intend to create a similar experience across the other two apps also. But social plays a very big role in that, very clearly for us.
I think the red times up has been blinking for some time, and I'll just take 10 seconds for my inputs would be, I think what all this said, I think the basic stuff for a challenge for all the retailers would be to have the right stock in the right place, in the right quantity. I think having said whatever we do, if you don't do all these three, you are doomed for failure anyways, despite whatever technologies we use. So thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, with that, it's a wrap. Many, many thanks to the panelists for their valuable insights, and thank you everyone for your time. Thanks a lot.